Okay, so what we've learned thus far, so hopefully it'll help you, is a lot of this isn't on the web yet, or it's very difficult to find. So, sharing my experience with some empirical data, as always. So, this is where we picked up off of, and the last break, the thing that kind of a nudge forward. If it's more repetitive, more aggressive, that means you gotta go in that direction. Usually happens when you focus on reality. The deeper you go, the more you enjoy things, the more you get those nudges and the stronger they are. We are looking to introduce mushrooms, as mushrooms are extremely important for nerve health. We've had great success with Nori. So once we can handle the foods we are handling and the gut settles down, we're going to introduce mushrooms. And it is going well on all that front. So there is a pseudo way to check this historical stock. You can do Keepa. There's also stock, like Amazon stock, and GitHub programs that constantly check whether there's something like day to day, and they'll tell you out of stock on this day, in stock, and they'll create like a spreadsheet or some sort of text file where you get an idea of what's out of stock. Here we write the foods we may kind of react to, even a little bit, and then we EMDR them away, so to speak, so we won't react to them in the future. React less and less to know, and then it switches. It kind of becomes pleasurable to eat those foods. Instead of the gut kind of becoming inflated and bloated, it actually goes flatter when you eat those foods, and now it's like a pleasurable feeling when you eat those foods, which is great. And I think that has to do with EMDR as well as the deep gut pleasure heal, which we'll cover up above, which is stronger in general for gut issues, but they're complementary. Just to set up for the next meal is meal prep. So when you put your shoulders back and hips back, but you also kind of cup your back like a U shape, gorillas or great apes have a C shape. In humans, it's even more pronounced for good body posture, and that helps you get further compressed. I will say, based on focusing on compression is king. Over this, so just having a U-shaped back is not necessarily good. You want to be compressed, especially if you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or some inflammation that's causing kind of loose, out of place joints. Focusing on compression is much better than trying to U-shape, because U-shape or shoulder back, it doesn't mean you're compressed, it just means there's more room for compression. So compression is still key. This is what we talked about. So currently there are no songs with a 4.24 hertz kind of pulse addition, so the amplitude gets pulsed at 4.24 hertz, at least on YouTube Music under Spotify. Like kind of Sky Cascade Theta Drift is for 6.561 hertz, which is fantastic. And we tried generating it with Suno, but Suno is not there yet. It didn't give a 4.24 hertz, not even a shaman drum with Suno, which is the best apparently AI tool for music generation. So still has some time before we can get there. This I'll have to do. So as far as nerves, since I'm having nerve issues, this is kind of a great milestone, is when you can feel kind of nerve pulses to generate force. And then even better is kind of to the right language node on flexing. So instead of feeling those pulses, you can actually flex through a language node, and you really flex much stronger than that, and it becomes almost like all languages, right? Like English, it becomes second nature. Somewhere in the back there, you can produce language and you don't really need to think about it. So that's kind of where this, the next step after this, which is the language node, is getting you to. So one thing that helps is if you have stuck food pieces between your teeth and you can't get it, and flossing is difficult, either string floss doesn't cut it or water floss makes gum bleed due to pressure, one awesome thing is cloves. You get just a pinch of cloves, probably 1/8 of a teaspoon at the most. This in your mouth, and you swish just with saliva and cloves on that part, and you swish rather aggressively so that everyone in the room should be able to hear you if there were individuals in the room. And by doing so, you will, after, sometimes it's just one kind of swishing session, maybe a minute or two, sometimes it's 3 to 4, rarely more than that, you'll get whatever's not lodged, and you can chew away without pain. This is separate from the effect of cloves taking away pain through to their neuro kind of numbing effects. This is actually dislodging the food and doing that, so it's pretty great. So anytime we do the EMDR or the deep cut pleasure heal, we try to go into sleep right after, and whatever you used to sleep, for us it's that right language node that makes you yawn. It's very short, you still get that sleep burst, and it usually lasts 30 seconds to a minute, and it kind of locks in whatever you did, consolidates. It's a mini consolidation. It's not as consolidating as night, which is awesome, but you do get that consolidation. You almost feel like something changes that wouldn't have changed if you just kept going throughout your day. And this is after grounding. So you do the EMDR, grounding, and then the sleep consolidation, more grounding, and usually followed by a little bit of exercise or light movement to get you back. We talked about Keepa. In the Keepa, you can enter a URL in the search, and it will provide you that URL's product price for historical details. We did an AI search on everything that you can use for office work. Gamma builds PowerPoint generations pretty well. Julius AI does Excel analyses pretty well. Not as good as human for both of these, but it will save you time for something simple and a starting point. Whisperflow and 11 Labs are extremely good at reading and writing, a lot of times better than humans, for words that I do not know how to pronounce or how to write. So that's dictating, and this is reading out loud. Mostly when it comes to anything, all the LLMs or deep research models are the best to sort through a lot of data and summarize it. That's what they're really good for right now. At this moment in time, having searched through, I want to say at least 18 through 20 AI tools, which are said to be the best for office work. So, it's a summary there. We are up to around 7 Nori sheets. 8 was a little too much yesterday, or the day before. We talked about that. So for ordering sea vegetables, and we want to stay away from the macroalgae due to the toxins, and cyanobacteria due to the toxins, but the macroalgae, Maine Coast sea vegetables seems to be the best store currently if you're in the US as far as quality concerns. Price, it would be the Google of search, or the ChatGPT, or the OpenAI of LLMs. It is the best as far as I've seen, so we will be ordering from there. again, food prep. This is food consolidation into a smaller jar. This is what we're targeting next. So we got this one, and we'll get sea lettuce with wakame. And wakame, Atlantic wakame is Alaria. Pacific wakame is starts with a U. It's like Unfaria bifida. And what you want is when you can get from main coastal vegetables, you do, and they do have sea lettuce. They don't have Pacific wakame, but we will get that from another vendor. Probably Emerald Cove if you looked at the Dragon spreadsheet we have going on. There are G resets, but we have gotten away from them recently, and because they interfere with being in the present moment and going deeper into reality. So there seems to be a trade-off. When you're doing chi, you're not deeper in reality, and when you're deeper in reality, seems the good things seem to happen to you, and you tend to be more in tune with the world, but in ways you can make the best decisions. Whereas chi kind of gets you out of that tune. That's just my experience, but yeah. So salt and iodine both tend to elevate your brain function, your nerve function. When salt dips low, you can still operate, just not effectively. And when salt's high, you don't really notice an impact to anything. Not really. The pain at night has been going down even when salt has been kept high. So, and yeah, super tired, couldn't really finish a workout. Then I took the salt and I did the entire workout. Iodine seems to be similar as far as energy goes. When doing exercise, you want resistance and very slow, and what I do now is I kind of move, flex, move, flex, move, flex through the range of motion, so it's very slow. And even if you go fast, your next checkpoint should be right there, and it's not like you're moving your entire arm with the momentum, you can cause a tear. So slow, resistance bound, and short, through the range of motion, but in short intervals. Sea plants high, and we're talking macroalgae mainly. This was through EMDR, so EMDR does cause pleasure in the gut, especially if you stay in it, which usually staying in reality is kind of you enjoy reality and you stay in reality and focus on objects like this microphone, Yeti microphone, and like by focusing in on it, you kind of helps you get into the flow state, but also you can enjoy things more. And the moment you're pulled out of it, you want to try to stay in it as much as possible. So there's node. So we have started to do right language node on chi. Which does help. Same thing with sleep, and it makes you yawn a lot. This is what we talked about. We didn't sleep with sticks and we cramped. May or may not be some of the toxins we'll discuss with the macroalgae and the cyanobacteria. Maybe the sticks, maybe both, probably. If you are cramping, the quick thing you can do is kind of focus on that body part, use pleasure, and then calm that body part, so relax it. Do not flex it, and do not ignore it. Use pleasure, it will calm down and stop cramping. This is what we talked about. So there are times when you're in a bad luck spiral. Apparently how you get out of that is you would cleanse through like a bath, and some individuals use salt thrown over your shoulders or salt baths, and switching scenarios, getting outside of a house, outside a room. You can use chi as well to move the bad energy into some other vessel, like a doll, and then destroy the doll. And there's a lot of ways in ancient cultures they kind of shifted away from the bad luck that was on them. I will say currently we're focused on just staying in the moment, and there's a lot of bad luck that in my life has just passed by staying in the moment. So you don't necessarily need to do these things, it's just these things were done by cultures, and so we're documenting them here. This is again this is around some of that, because external objects apparently put in the open like an evil eye, and the idea was to get 2 nails, put a little bit of salt in a bowl with an evil eye in it. That would be your amulet, which repels, and then you would have something like another bowl with a gemstone, emerald, ruby, and then paper inscription with good luck, bring good fortune, things like that. And you would ask God to bless the talisman, which brings good luck, brings good fortune, and also to make the amulet repel bad, spirits, bad luck. And that would be based on all the research done on ancient cultures. That would be kind of the amalgamation of what they did, and preferably put wherever you need it the most. And if there's no particular place, you would put it at a door, or the entrance to your home. So red algae seems to help best with the nerve situation, specifically Nori, and astaxanthin helps a lot. Even in ALS trials, they're using astaxanthin with success, and that is red. If you've ever seen astaxanthin, it is pure red. Stains like crazy. And that is in red algae, macroalgae like Nori. So if you eat a lot of Nori, like me, you will experience nerve improvement. This we didn't need to do. They delivered just 1 day delayed. This worked. This was sweet spot, maybe a little over. Like 7.5 sheets. Reinstall drivers, check disk, and SFC scan now. So if your Lenovo LOQ15 or any Lenovo laptop starts crashing and it says an image kind of issue at the bottom when it crashes, there's an error code. That typically the solution is you install DDU. It's an executable that you run, and you would pretty much stop all updates to drivers, uninstall both NVIDIA and Intel drivers, and if you have an AMD driver, and then reinstall those drivers based off of Lenovo drivers you downloaded for your computer. And on a website you can actually go and it'll detect your computer and give you exactly your drivers. you download them, have them. Then DDU comes in, wipes it, you in safe mode, and then you go in normal mode and you install the Intel one, then NVIDIA, and then you're back up and running. And it should solve everything. And you can use check disk, as well as SFC scan now, and there's tutorials online to do that. And those actually solve a lot of the integrity problems at a software level, and that usually takes care of it. Currently, there's no crashes, and I've been doing just fine by implementing that. So, Chlorella does have harmful effects. Today we did not use Chlorella or Spirulina, and it was the first day that I've had really strong effects. Probably close to when I started Nori, and I didn't have that much Chlorella to begin with. So I've been ramping up as I go, but something was wrong. And we can go up, or we were slowing down. We had weakness, some pain, but not a lot of pain, and also a lot of digestive discomfort. And we did away with Chlorella and Spirulina since they're macroalgae with the dinoflagellates, and then the cyanobacteria, and those two produce the most toxins. So even though they're controlled for certain toxins, I'm sure there's a lot of toxins we don't control for that are in there. And there's been reports of people using high quality Spirulina that have gotten very sick with rhabdomyolysis. So, and other allergenic responses and other toxin effects. So, hopefully this helps you, as a lot of the resources online say Spirulina and Chlorella are super healthy. They're energetic. I'm not saying they're not. They're neuroexcitatory, and they do make you kind of hyper or alert, but in the short term. And I think the dose is the poison. There's some people that react beneficially to it with a minor dose of 3 to 10 grams. There's people like the individual who was otherwise perfectly healthy, 28-year-old, no previous health concerns, got rhabdomyolysis, 3 grams daily within 1 month, which is quite shocking. But again, these are mycotoxin loaded organisms, and so they're also not meant to be consumed, unlike Nori, which you can pull out of the sea and eat Nori. You can't really quite pull out Chlorella unless you have some crazy processing. And so, in my opinion, most of the beneficial effects have been from macroalgae, kelp, bladder wrack, Nori, dulce, and not any of the cyanobacteria microalgae, which have actually been detriments from current testing. This is part of it. So we felt weakness. Overall, though, we are improving. The P count went up with Chlorella increasing and Spirulina increasing to 3 at night, which is not good, but overall seems to be in the correct direction because we're eating a lot of Nori and little of those, and now we've eliminated the negatives. So hopefully we'll see future projection mostly positive, if not all positive, at a quicker rate. Again, we're sleeping much less than your 13 hours, so something is working, at least on the energy front and the nerve front. This is what we talked about. This is sort of where we're at. Right, so when you go into gut heal, you can actually do a right language node on the pleasure itself, and the pleasure kind of goes around and converts whatever seems to be reacting into good, non-reactive bits, and you can go deeper and do that, and go deeper and do that, and it kind of, whatever it touches, the further right, the quicker and easier it converts whatever it touches. This is what we talked about. So this is open is best, although closed may work. If you have amulets, usually in the open, like an open bowl is better than a closed. Closed can actually seal certain amulets or talismans effects, partially or fully, according to ancient cultures. And then here you have, it's best not to move a computer, although dropping a computer, you would have to drop, most laptops currently are graded to drop 26 times from 1.2 meters and not break and still be able to run. So, however, micro movements like 40 centimeter drops over a span of months can definitely degrade computer quality from 5 years to maybe 1 or 3 years if you keep doing that. So raw nori is better because you don't get all of these, which are all happening through roasting. Even at lower temperatures like nori, if you're roasting meats, it's a lot higher, like these are amplified a lot more, or other products like potato chips have a lot higher, I believe it's acrylamide. I think it's probably 6 to 7 times higher than roasted nori. There is a pathogen risk, but if you eat fermented foods and if you ferment the nori, you have a lot less. It's pretty much entirely mitigated, which is awesome. Dry raw nori can stay out for about 3 months before it starts getting bad, is the summary. And then we EMDR these. We need to have that conversation. We're introducing more raw and less roast. It's add up to 7 sheets. Some things we get from Central Market, some things we get from Whole Foods in terms of fermented foods, so we split up the list. DDU, in the laptop reset steps we noted, DDU, you actually have to go back in there after everything's done and then say, hey, enable computer scans like I had them for the latest driver, and this goes and changes the registry. You have to do that. If you don't, the computer will not scan for the latest drivers. And this is what we're doing now. MemTest 86 we did not run as one of the troubleshooting steps because the basic MD sketch worked with 0 errors. So this is only if you really need to go in depth, and so far everything's working fine. When you use teeth to grab onto stuff, teeth are precious. Peter Attia kind of goes into detail. He wants to preserve his teeth at all costs. He doesn't drink soda because of the sugar. He doesn't drink soda because of preserving his teeth. If your teeth go, kind of intake goes, and so things like, and this goes up, even the toothpaste disrupts the digestive tract. It's important to strengthen the enamel and be careful when you grab things with teeth like metal, plastic, even metal straws. Just being slow and careful with them and limiting that. This is to research. This is what we talked about. Any sort of flavors. So apparently in the nori processing, you have roasted nori, which is just dry, but single roasted, and then you have flavored nori, which they add like avocado oil or teriyaki seasoning. That involves another roasting, and their other roasting is not at a few hundred degrees Fahrenheit, it's at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So usually those are even more processed. So anything with natural flavors, flavorings, anything that says flavors is usually more processed, and you want to stay away because you get more of these products and other ones we have not yet identified. And then we talked about this, and also nori does, if you look at meat and you look at nori and as well as other plant foods like hemp seeds or flax seeds, what meat can provide the plant foods provide much more of. And to drive that home, Nori, for instance, per taurine has about, per 100 grams, has around 1,400 units of taurine, whereas your typical fish have 100 to 200. And you say, well, maybe you're not going to eat 100 grams, but 10 grams is 4 sheets. 4 sheets is totally doable. I'm eating 7, and for people who eat raw nori, especially in Japan, or roasted nori, they can easily 7-8 sheets. And so you're getting 200, 300 units of taurine from that. Omega-3s, I think there's 30 units per gram or per sheet. And so of EPA, and you're getting those EPAs. Also, flaxseed has a lot of ALA that if you eat flaxseed regularly, you convert, yes, a small portion of that to EPA and DHA, but if you do the calculations, you get around 1,000, which seems to be the sweet spot. And then B12, Nori has B12. It's the active form. It is not like spirulina, which again, cyanobacteria. Besides the toxins, it actually has a pseudo B12, which competes with B12. It is not spirulina. It is Nori, which is awesome because it has the active form of B12 in Nori, and if you eat it regularly, you'll get the B12 you need. So, and there's other things like spermidine in natto, which I think is about 5 to 10 times more spermidine in natto or tempeh than you would find in the supposed best spermidine animal product, which is chicken skin. So again, plant foods, if you know how to prepare them, if you know which one, they tend to outperform nutritionally just from a data standpoint than the kind of animal best equivalents for the most part, especially for longevity and overall health. And that's it.